afternoon, YouTubers. Welcome back into another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis here again. It is Monday, July 17th, 2023, 3:19 p.m. So, Astros have an off day today. So, back at home, not at the station. Sort of back and forth a little bit there last few weeks. It's really just going to depend on whether the Astros are off or not on Monday. So I know they were off the All-Star break, so they had the home run derby a week ago, but again, not super into it at all. Shorter week, obviously, with the All-Star break, so we'll be recapping 3 games today. The 3-game series against the Angels, and it was a crazy series to say the least, especially games 2 and 3, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But real quick, so trying to give you a breakdown. So the Astros were 9 games over 550 and 41, I believe. They did take 2 of 3, so they're 52 and 42. I need to make sure that's correct. I think that's right. Yeah, 52 and 42. They're actually coming up on 100 games here. Play 6 more, and they'll actually get all 6 in this week. So if they play all 6, that will put them exactly at 100 games. 62 left to go at that point. But before I actually talk about the games, just the sort of break, I think I mentioned this last week. Not very into the All-Star break. Like, it used to be a lot of fun. Like, I used to enjoy it. But the last few years have just been sort of boring. Like, the home run derby is not even exciting anymore. Like, it's just, it's not exciting anymore. I think if you're there, maybe it is, but obviously the only way to ever be there would be if it's in Houston, and it's not going to be in Houston at least in the next few years. But they had it back in 04, of course. But like, the way they should go back to the old format, just my opinion, home run derby, the 10 outs, because what they're doing now is the whole timing thing, which they changed the whole format of it and sort of put up players against one another to try to make it better, because it was dying basically a few years ago. And it was okay, I guess, for a few years. But now, like, the fact that they don't even let the balls, like, there used to be the rule when they changed the format to what it is now, that you had to let the ball land before you could throw the next pitch. They don't do that anymore. It's like moonshot home runs, right? But if you don't even wait for the ball to come, wrong with the All-Star break. And when you compare it to the other big sports like NFL, the Pro Bowl is nothing. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. And then the NBA All-Star game is also sort of a joke. However, they have actually made it a little bit better, the way they do things, especially in the fourth quarter. They make it more of a competitive game. But it used to be just a complete joke. I think baseball probably has the best, like the most interest, although it's dying itself. Like, the All-Star game wasn't anything for me. Neither was the home run derby. In fact, I watched the derby until Julio Rodriguez hit 41 home runs, and then after that I was like, all right, nothing else is entertaining for me at that point. So, but just to give you the winners, so Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won. It's funny because he won the derby, but he didn't like steal the show. Like, Julio Rodriguez was interesting, obviously hitting 41 home runs. Adley Rutschman, who lost, put up a very respectable number. Like, the guys in the derby were more like, it's funny because, yeah, Guerrero won, but I feel like the talk hasn't been about Guerrero. And then the NL finally won the All-Star game. AL was up 2-1 for, in the late innings there, but NL did hit Elias Diaz, I believe, with the Rockies, hit a 2-run home run in the 7th or 8th that gave them the lead, and they finally won the All-Star game, first time since 2012, I believe. And the way I remember that is the Astros shifted leagues in 2013, and the AL had won every single All-Star game until this year. Not that it matters. It used to, determine home field advantage in the World Series, but that's no longer a thing. So, but again, I just don't really care. Wednesday, Thursday were off days, of course, kind of boring nights, because the one thing I like to do is look forward to Astros baseball. But, yeah, I mean, but yeah, sort of a crazy series. So, a lot of things going on this week, and obviously trade deadline is nearing closer and closer, about 2 weeks here. So a lot of talk about, who the Astros might need Obviously, playing the Angels, the big talk is Ohtani and whether he's moving or not. But Friday game was pretty good. Now, we really struggled on the pitching side of things this series. Offensively, no problems. I mean, they scored 28 runs in 3 games. So, yeah, the offense came out swinging, but the pitching, that's been the issue of late, has really let them down. Now, that Seattle series, going into the break, the offense was dead there. Scored 1 run, 3 runs. 1 run, 1 run, 3 runs, 1 run. I mean, they scored 6 runs in 4 games. So it's just inconsistency all around, basically. That's what it is. And, Jordan's out on his rehab assignment along with Jose Urquidy. So you should get Jordan back. I mean, if everything goes well, he was dealing with some illness. I think he was supposed to start sort of on, I don't know if it's Thursday or Friday, whatever it was, but if he plays basically every game, he doesn't need a lot of time, I feel like, in the minors. I mean, the last injury he dealt with, or whatever it was, he played like 2 games in the minors, came up and was on fire. So he shouldn't need a ton of time based on that. Now they do play Colorado, off day today. Colorado for 2. They play Oakland over the weekend. They could just keep him there and bring him back for the Monday against Texas, which will be another big series. If the Astros can, just continue and win games here. I mean, you're playing Colorado for 2, Oakland for 4. Hard week to sort of, I hate 2-game series. 4-game series is okay, but the goal there is to win 3 or 4. But 2-game sets are tough, and all these are still on the road. So, but we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, Friday's game was the one sort of normal game of the series where the Astros won this game 7-5. They did fall behind 2-0 early, but were able to get the runs back. And they even took the lead in the took the lead in the 5th. Gave up 2 more. Bottom half, so a little back and forth early, tied 4-4, but the 3-run 6th put them ahead for good, 6-3, 6-4. Or what am I looking at here? They scored 7 runs, so 3, 4, yeah, 2, 4, yeah, the 3-run 6, which made it 7-4. But yeah, J.P. France really didn't pitch very well. Sort of an interesting thing to have him out there. I thought they'd start back at the top with Fromber, but they didn't do that. So, but Ohtani on the other side, the Astros for the 3rd time this year beat Ohtani. So they have not had issues facing Ohtani this year. Valdez was the pitching for us the other 2 games. So we had our ace out there, but today we hit him a run pretty good. He went 5 innings, 4 earned runs, walked 3, struck out 7. He's always going to strike out a lot of batters, but that's just what he does. He also came out a little earlier than maybe anticipated, dealing with the finger blister issue. So I guess you can blame that if you want. But, yeah, I mean, we have been able to hit Ohtani, no problem. But, yeah, the one normal game, trying to get the J.P. Francis pitching line for you here. If I can find it. But he didn't get through 5. He went 4 1/3, 9 hits, 4 runs. 2 of them were earned. The Astros defense has been awful this year, and it's been very costly. And they lead the league in unearned runs allowed this year. So his line actually wasn't bad if you just say 2 earned runs, but he didn't give you any length, so that was the big issue. But he does get the no decision. And then the bullpen came in, did pretty good. Phil Maton got the final outs of the 5th inning. Clean outs there. He also gets the win. Seth Martinez got a hold. He went an inning. He walked a guy, gave up a base hit. Got a big double play, though. They were bunting on a sacrifice, I believe. It was like 1st and 2nd, nobody out, I believe, after the hit and the walk. But there was a pop-up that was like right in front of Maldi on a bunt attempt, I believe. He caught it and threw his 2nd to double the runner up. So they got 2 quick outs, and that sort of saved the Martinez inning there in the 6th. Neris gave up the home run, I believe. Yeah, solo shot. He struck out the side, but the 1 hit, the 1 earned run wasn't very good. But he still gets credit for the hold. ERA at 1.63 for Neris. So, I mean, he's a guy, I mean, I'd probably choose him over Abreu at this point. Because Abreu just has been very, very shaky, giving up runs, not pitching very well. I mean, it's the bullpen this year. You think about last year with all the guys when it came to, Abreu didn't really start shining until the second half of the year. That's when Dusty actually started using him more. But Abreu wasn't used a whole lot at all first half of last year. But, I mean, you had Montero and you had Neris and you had all these guys. It just seemed like everybody worked in that bullpen last year, at least for the most part. But, yeah, Martinez, after his scoreless inning, 4.03 ERA. So it's still not good. And Martinez and Stanek are both going to be mop-up guys. Like, you're probably not going to see them in high leverage situations unless we have to use them. You know, Dusty's rule is I can't use a reliever any more than 2 days in a row. Like, he actually used Maton yesterday, which was the third straight day because he really couldn't go anywhere else. But Dusty's rule is usually he will never use a reliever 3 days in a row. But yeah, Neris gave up the home run, struck out the side. Abreu gave up a hit, a walk, so he wasn't very good. He didn't give him any runs, but still, I'd like to see better performances out of Abreu. And then Presley would have been dominant. I mean, he 1, 2, 3, struck out the side, no walks, no hits. I mean, he was great. And that was his 21st save. Again, Presley's probably going to finish, if he stays healthy, somewhere in the sort of 35-ish save range would be my guess. That's usually about average. Like, the Astros don't have closers that get to 40. Like some teams do. Like, Presley won't get there unless the Astros, for some reason, playing a lot of close games that they're good at. But, yeah, I mean, he picked up, Presley after that game, the broadcast kept talking about this, how crazy good he had been his last, 12 games, 12 innings, no hits, no runs, all these strikeouts, and he was just on fire. And it's weird because after that game, where he struck out the side, he said that, I didn't hear this interview, I just heard about it. Somebody said that he said something didn't feel right on the mound. Something didn't feel right. I don't know what it was, but it didn't affect his pitching. I mean, the Angels could hit him. So, but good to get the first one out of the All-Star break. Saturday's game was probably the worst loss of the year. Astros had some tough games. Like, you think about that one back in Cleveland a month or whatever it was ago where, they had the big lead Friday and then they went 14 innings and it was back and forth, but they had the 5-run lead, and then after playing about 4.5 hours of baseball, they lose it. Think about that Dodgers game up 7-3 on Saturday. The whole debacle there, Abreu imploding, Stanek, the balk that brought in the winning run. Those were tough losses. This one probably tops all that because they were up 9-3 and they let it slip away. Yeah, it was a complete just meltdown of the bullpen. It was guy after guy after guy. And to add insult to injury in this game, you had injuries. Like Valdez got the start. He gave up a 3-run home run early on. He wasn't very good. Just put that out there. He was not good in the start. But the Astros really added up the insurance runs because they put up 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth. But they added a 5-run sixth, which put them up 9-3. And after that 7th inning, Valdez is at 91 pitches. But after using the bullpen for 4 2/3 the night before, Dusty wanted to get one more inning at him, which I don't disagree with. I don't mind Valdez going back out for the 7th. But it was not good, and he got hurt. So I want to break this down properly for you because the Angels put up 6 in the 7th to tie the game. But I want to try to get this play-by-play here. This pop-up just came up. We'll hopefully X out of that. I don't know if you can see me right now. Okay, there we go. But I want to break down this bottom half of the 7th for you here. Play-by-play. If I can find it here. Maybe 1 second. So yeah, Valdez comes back out after sort of a long top half of the 7th. Didn't disagree with it. I mean, he's your workhorse. 91 pitches. You're trying to get a quick seventh. I mean, if you go 7 giving up 3 runs, that's a pretty decent quality start line. But he walks the first batter. And then he gets a fielder's choice on Rengifo. As they got the out at second, he beat out the relay to first. And then he gave up the home run to Zach Nato. And that made it 9-5. Then he got hurt, like the next batter. He got hurt. I don't know if it was a cramp. I've had no update on Valdez. I don't think it's serious because if I think it was, well, you know, the Astros, the whole injury thing, they don't tell people what's going on. They refuse to do it. But he came out, and I think we heard cramp, which is probably good news. Hopefully he'll make his next start. But he came out of the game. Stanek came in. Stanek was awful. He actually struck out Ohtani, the first batter. So he had a runner on first, I think. Hold on now. No. Yeah. 9-5. You still have a 4-run lead. And you got 2 outs and nobody on. Then he walks Taylor Ward. Mickey Moniak singles. Another single, scores a run. 9-6. And then after that, I mean, 3 straight. You'll walk a guy with 2 outs, which is unacceptable. Single, single. They go get him. They bring in Bregman and Abreu, who very shaky. And the first batter he faced, he gives up the 3-run home run that ties it at 9-9. He just struck out Hunter Renfroe, but the damage was done. So Stanek's line is going to look terrible, but Abreu also attributed to that, giving up 2 of those runners that he put on base. But Stanek wasn't good. Abreu wasn't good. Neris, the one exception. The Astros actually come right back in the 8th. McCormick hits a 2-run home run. They go back up 2. So, to, blow the lead the way they did, but to get it right back is nice. So, yeah. Hector Neris in the bottom half of the 8th does a good job. I mean, he gets a ground out, a strikeout, a fly out. 1-2-3 inning for him. And in the 9th inning, the Astros even tack on another insurance run on a Yano Diaz RBI single to make it 12-9. So although you blew the 6-run lead, you're feeling good moving into the later innings. Presley comes in, been as rock solid as anybody, and he did not have it at all. As Ohtani homers as the first hitter in the 9th to make it 12-10. Then you got a single, loaded the bases, nobody out. Pass ball, God, this is probably the most aggravating play of the entire game. So a lot of errors that cost them runs, a lot of bad relief pitching, but the pass ball with the bases loaded, crucial spot, by the way, on Martin Maldonado scored a run with the bases loaded. Like, Maldi has done this a lot this year, okay? In crucial spots, too. Maldi, I don't know if he leads the league, but he's got to be near the tops and pass balls. And the interesting thing, there's a difference between a pass ball and a wild pitch. Most of y'all probably know that. Like, a wild pitch is usually on the pitcher. Pass balls on the catcher. Maldi hit the pass balls. Not only are they in crucial situations, like that score runs or that add insult to injury or that give runners extra 90 feet. Like, if you're doing what he does with nobody on base, it doesn't matter. But his pass balls aren't even questionable. They're clearly pass balls, but they're borderline strikes that he just lets go right by him, basically. I don't know how you don't catch it. Like, you're a catcher. How do you not catch a pitch that's a borderline strike? Like, I think you're going to look at Maldi's pass balls. They're not like balls in the dirt that he has to block or, which could also be a wild pitch, but sometimes there's some question between wild pitch, pass ball. These are clearly pass balls. And I don't know if it's a lot. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Because Maldi, he's been awful this year. There's no 2 ways about it, even as a catcher. Like, you can applaud Maldi. Like, the previous years, the whole case for Maldi, because he hits, 150, maybe 175. He might pop a home run every now and then. I just can't put up with a hitter that hits 180, basically. But they give him credit because of the way he calls the game, the leadership he has, the homework he does. They love his, catching ability. But you look at his numbers, he's been an awful catcher this year. I mean, the pass balls, if you want to give him credit for the way he calls the game, okay, but he also can't even throw out base runners. Like, Yainer Diaz is way better than he is. Maybe not at calling a game, but Yainer Diaz doesn't allow pass balls that go right down the middle of the plate. He also throws out base runners. Like, his percentage is better than Moldy. But that's probably the one play that sort of gets overlooked that actually aggravated me the most. But yeah, pass ball, so that moved everybody up, made it a one-run game, and they still have runners on second and third and nobody out. So the fact that they actually pushed this to extra innings, get Presley, although he didn't have his stuff, he actually got them through the game. But a ground out with the infield end of Mauricio Dubon kept everything the way it was with one out. Then a single scored the tying run. But it was big. The big strikeout of Matt Thaiss with runners in the corners and still one out was big. And they get a fly out. So for Presley, who did not have his A-game stuff, obviously, for him to get through that inning with it still tied was pretty amazing. But you blew a 6-run lead, you go back up by 3, and you blow it again. You go to extras. Astros with obviously the runner at second base, nobody out to start the 10th. They do move that runner up, by the way, with one out. Dubon, I think, hit a fly ball into right field. It was caught right next to the stands in foul territory. But they were able to get the run there. They actually pinch ran, I think, with the Jake Myers, who was able to tag up to get to third. And then Pena strikes out. Pena's just bad. I mean, I can't make... He's a bad baseball player this year. Pena's been a bad baseball player. Not only offensively, but defensively he hasn't been good either. But that's a key spot. One out, you got to find a way to put the ball in play. You got to find a way to get that run home. And I mean, the Astros' record in extra innings is like 1-6, something like that. So it's already a recipe for disaster at that point. And then yeah, they can't get the run home. Pena also hurt his calf on that strike, whatever it was. I don't know. I think he just swung and missed at a pitch, and I think it was a cramp again. So I'm hoping the 2 injuries, which were bad enough after losing this game, but the 2 injuries there, I'm hoping were just cramps. And if that's the case, I mean, Pena didn't play like yesterday, so they gave him the day off there, and they're off today, so maybe he's back in the lineup. But let's be honest here. Pena, now, Dubon, like if Altuve was healthy, Dubon would just slide in for Pena. Dubon's a better baseball player than Jeremy Pena. It's simple. There's no question about it. Dubon's a better baseball player than Jeremy Pena. Pena hasn't been good defensively, and he can't hit. So, yeah. I do want to actually look at this, but, yeah. Angels score. So Pena comes out of the game, and they got to bring in Gray Kessinger at shortstop, right? Which, that's not a big deal, right? But it's that adage in baseball. When you enter a game, the ball finds you, right? But the Astros were in a bad shape. Maton's in at this point. Talk about the errors, costly errors so far this year. Bases loaded, one out, and Maton dials up the perfect ground ball, double play, right to Dubon at second, flips it to Kessinger, and Kessinger just absolutely throws an absolute it wasn't an awful throw, but he pulled it. Abreu couldn't knock it down, and they lose on the error there as it gets past him. Hits against the dugout fencing, and the runner comes around to score the winning run. So, I mean, Maton did his job, but Kessinger, I think there were so many things that went wrong in that game, so to blame Kessinger, but dude, they might win that game if he doesn't screw up that throw. But I'm not going to pin it on him because the bullpen was just completely awful in this game. I mean, Stanek was terrible. Abreu was terrible. Neris was good. Presley was terrible. And, I mean, Maton should have gotten out of that inning. So really I point the finger at Valdez wasn't good either. So, I mean, he gave up 5 runs. So he deserves a little bit of blame. But Stanek, Abreu, and Presley all were just complete shit of the bullpen. So, excuse my language. Anyway, yeah. Trying to find my place here. So Saturday and Sunday were like almost copies of the game, but in Sunday it actually worked in the Astros' favor, where the Angels had a 4-run lead going into the 8th inning, and they blew that. So, but give the Astros some credit because their hitters came through. These 3 games, 28 runs, offense has not been an issue, but yeah. Big 7th, 8th, 9th. The Astros had they stranded I think 8 runners first 3 innings, and they got 1 run out of that 3. They should have been up 5-0 or 5-1 after 3 innings. So it felt bad. This game aggravated me all the way through. It felt like, but Christian Javier was an important start. He wasn't awful, but also not good. And let's be honest, he only had one direction to go after his 3 putrid starts he had for the All-Star break. But he only went 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Not as bad as he had been, but still not great. So, and then they bring in a guy they just called up, Cunell. Try to get his full name here. Joel or Joel Cunell. Just to try to eat up a few innings when the score was, I believe, 3-1. They were down. But he got 5 outs. Couldn't get out of the 7th inning. And they bring in Montero with runners on base, and Montero does Montero things. Allows 2 of those bases loaded, 2 outs. And he gave up a bases clearing double. And that made Cunell's line a lot worse than what it could have been. And Montero actually gets the win here. Shocking. But Montero did get the 8th inning as well and actually got through it fine. But the offense went to work. McCormick hit 2 big home runs. Even Jake Myers, who had been awful, hit a home run. But that's all he did. But McCormick, 2 big home runs. McCormick's just been playing out of his mind the last few weeks. But, yeah, Bregman, the big, 2-run home run with 2 outs to take the lead out. And then Tucker hits the moonshot blast of a home run to give him a run of insurance. They give the home run to Ohtani there in the bottom half of the 9th. But Maton, pitching 3rd day in a row, is able to get out of it and at least save the game. With the help from Tucker, who also ended the game with a diving catch that would have tied the game, possibly given them the win if he didn't lay out. But the Astros were lucky to get out of there, winning that game. Basically a copy of Saturday's game, but just opposite side, basically. So yeah, I know I spent a lot of time breaking that down. That way longer than I like to be. But yeah, 42-52. 3 games out of the first place. Rangers have a 2-game lead on the 3rd spot in the wild card as Boston and New York are tied 2 games out of that 3rd wild card spot, which the Astros hold. Toronto's got a 2-game lead up on Houston, I believe, for the 2nd wild card, and Baltimore's got a decent-sized gap. In fact, they're tracking down the Tampa Bay Rays. They've won 8 games in a row. So Tampa Bay looks like, Baltimore's 1 game out of that first place in the AL East there. So, yeah. The division, obviously, is where you want to get the lead. You play the Rangers coming up here. Not this week, and I believe next. Or it might be a week from today, actually. But, yeah. 3 games out. I mean, the division's going to be what you're trying to get at. But the wild card's a nice fallback. But yeah, still issues. I know Bregman had the big hit yesterday. You can give him some credit there. Big hit with 2 outs. But he still needs to be better average-wise. Abreu did hit a home run Saturday, but still needs to be better. And Pena is just an absolute joke right now. But you're hoping to get Alvarez back at some point, possibly this week. If not, next week early. We'll see how much time they give him. But off day today. Tomorrow, 7:40 start at Colorado. You'll have Hunter Brown on the mound. Like Javier, ERA creeped over 4 going into the All-Star break. So trying to get that back down would be nice for Hunter Brown. A guy that I really tore apart for his last start, which was terrible. But I'm trying to get Javier's numbers. He didn't go back under 3. I know that for a fact. I don't want to see what his ERA is actually at here. So Javier sits at 4.3. I think it went up actually, 4.39. 5 innings, 3 runs. Yeah, not great, but not awful. But getting the win yesterday felt like an absolute miracle because it just wasn't. The first 7 innings was pretty bad. But yeah, I know I went 30 minutes, so I'm not going to talk and go into a whole lot more. I'll obviously talk to you again. Probably next Sunday at work will be the plan. Now, they have a 3 o'clock game, so it would be a little bit later than what's usual. And if I have a live show at 7, then I can't. But they play at 7 on Monday, so usually at the Monday games, they'll try to do these things at work. But yeah, we'll wrap things up there again. Interesting 2-game series with Colorado. They did beat them twice at home 2 weeks ago. But, yeah. I mean, you're on the road, but Colorado and Oakland, teams you really should not mess around, take care of business type of week. But with the Astros, it's anybody's guess at this point because things are just... it's been a rough, interesting season. But with everything considered, all the injuries... To be 3 games out of the first place and to be 2 games up on the 3rd wild card spot and be 10 games over 500 is actually pretty remarkable when you think about it. But yeah, 30 minutes. I don't like to make these things too long. Anyway, give this video a like. Love to hear your comments section below. All the good stuff there is to do there on YouTube. And we'll talk to you in probably a week, a little less. Next Sunday will be the goal. And we'll see you then.